Namaste, welcome everyone. I am Kira, as you are, and as you can see, today is a very special day because today we are in part 2 of our series on the power of consciousness as seen through forgiveness, this experience of peace through the divine presence of what's happening in Southeast Asia as we move forward in this world. And together we are all expanding consciousness. So let's jump right in, should we? This is such a powerful show. I want you to sit back with your favorite beverage. You might want to take some notes, and you're definitely going to want to listen to this episode more than once, because today I'm really excited and honored to be introducing Hank Gloria to all of you. And Hank and I have been traveling throughout Southeast Asia, and together we were welcomed to share time with the Highland monk shaman and so many other beautiful beings. And I want you to know that this is really powerful because Hank is a direct and significant lineage holder of the ancient mystical lineage as called forward through Hank Gloria. Now, this happened in the 1500s, and this rabbi is considered to be one of the most famous mystics that ever existed. As a matter of fact, he is considered the father of the contemporary Kabbalah, and it was his teachings that are referred to as the Lurianic Kabbalah. You might want to look that up. Now, why is that so significant? Well, this is significant work worthy of its own show. I know you're already going, Kira, oh my God, right? Because look at the intersection with Archangel Zadkiel. Let us not forget that Archangel Zadkiel is in the Kabbalah. Archangel Zadkiel is the angelic ruler of the chesed of mercy and kindness, the fourth Sephiroth on the tree of life. Zadkiel represents divine, unconditional love and benevolence, and his name literally translates into the righteousness of God, and he is regarded to be the angel of memory and forgiveness and transformation, often associated with, you all know this, the violet flame. So meeting Hank, this really seems to be a divine, orchestrated intersection by the ascended realms. And in this lifetime, I am just so excited because Hank shares his extraordinary insights and awareness through his commitment to the mystical. And this has carried him through an extensive journey. Really, I honor this extensive journey of self-exploration and self-ascension that he has really been pursuing as he continues elevating consciousness throughout the world. And so this wisdom and knowledge is part of the eternal soul's journey of illumination, of course, through the sacred sequence of incarnation and his divine purpose. And while traveling together on the river in the Mekong Delta, it was actually Hank who, sat with me and said, hey, Kira, and really called forward the depth of the power of consciousness as seen through forgiveness and peace. So I want you to really breathe that in and open up your heart, because today, Hank and I are expanding that sharing and the profound moments that have been called forward in this moment in history. So Hank, welcome. We're just so honored to have you with us today. Thank you for expanding consciousness.
Thank you, Kira.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you for that beautiful introduction.
My honor.
And I'm honored to be a part of the community. So, in starting, let me share with you that forgiveness and peace, truly a beautiful, enriching experience. They come together with a symbiotic mastery. For with forgiveness, we are able to experience peace. With peace, we are able to experience forgiveness.
So true.
A letting go of what may not serve us, if you will. Peace can be experienced and felt in many ways, on many levels, both externally and internally. Peace, as in love, is powerful, yet calming. Though there are perhaps many pathways to self-ascension. Well, let me say this. Peace emanates from within. Though there are many pathways to self-ascension, the pathway to self-ascension does not have to be difficult nor challenging. Consider this gift. If you will allow me, I'd like to share a lesson, a teaching that I received from Source and my guides. I believe the pathway to self-ascension can be achieved simply through the following. For me, it begins with being present. From presence, I move to awareness. And from awareness, I'm able to place an intention. And through intention, one is able to transform and transcend.
Wow.
It's that simple.
We need to breathe that one in because it is like I'm smiling.
It can be that simple.
Right?
Yeah.
And it is. And aren't you smiling at that? Consider what Hank was just saying. So presence, right? We're talking about presence, awareness, and from there, calling forward that intention, right? So presence, it's like a formula, right? Presence plus awareness plus intention equals this moment of transformation or transcendence. So
Correct.
when we were in Vietnam and Laos and Cambodia, what were you noticing around that? Like when you and I were walking through, when we were talking to these people, when we were feeling this energy, and I think especially when we arrived in Cambodia, this essence of presence really was felt through peace. That's what I was noticing.
For me, it actually started in Vietnam, and something I'd been thinking about for a long time because we did such atrocities there, and this was their country. I mean, they certainly did as well, but they were fighting for their own country. And the forgiveness that we experienced with these beautiful people in being so welcoming and supportive and nurturing and loving and peaceful and kind was remarkable. And that carried forward as we moved from Vietnam, or at that point, northern Vietnam, to Laos, to Cambodia, and then into central and southern Vietnam. So that's where things began.
I love where they began, but one of the things that, we were talking about this last week on the show, and I remember that powerful story that Peter shared with us about one of his clients, right? And I shared this with you guys last week, and a lot of you have commented about it. And look, join this conversation. Make sure you're leaving us comments right here at this YouTube channel, and make sure you're subscribing. Because that story, and a lot of people have responded to that story, I think was really critical to this conversation. And that is, you have these two men who are now, in their 70s, I think they were both in like their late 70s, these two men who had been on a battlefield together, and as Peter said,
fighting one another.
Fighting, right? And not many people survived this. This was a really strong, confrontation, coming together in the energy of love and peace and forgiveness. And I think that that's really where our planet's at right now, is how do more of us hold that energy? Look at the role model. We've been in the middle of this incredible energy of role models.
Challenging as that is,
yes.
particularly here in our country at this time.
Yeah.
So true, Kira.
Yeah.
So true.
And so when we left Vietnam, what really struck me was when we went to Laos. When I was a kid, right, as a child of the 60s, I think many of you remember this, every night, you'd watch Walter Cronkite or whoever else, and they'd spin the daily toll, who's MIA, who's POW, who died today. And Laos for me was always like a secondhand thing. It was like, Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia. It was like the skip over, like you didn't really understand it or bring it in. And when we were in Laos, this was especially where you and I connected with the Hmong people and the indigenous tribes. And I know that one of the things that was affecting me so deeply as you and I were walking through there was their ability to carry on these traditions and to welcome us so beautifully without any edge. Did you feel anything like that?
I felt that. There was no edge.
Yeah.
They were so welcoming. And all three countries were welcoming like that. And it's just so beautiful to experience. And with the Cambodians, their approach, they're so peaceful, loving people that even in their historic background of wars and so forth, they forgave the atrocities that they experienced, where millions were killed in the very recent past. Millions, and they welcomed and opened that door. So the power of forgiveness, as we're sharing, is so powerful and leads to that beautiful aspect of peace within and peace without, and peace for all.
I want to pick up on that. Peace within, peace without, peace for all, right? Because truly it begins with that inner peace, or that peace that passeth all understanding, because it's anchored within. It's a powerful, I want to go back to your formula earlier. It's a powerful presence, right? Peace, I think, is one of the gateways to that formula, because when we establish peace, when we have that peace within, and this is what I think you and I had the honor of witnessing that has called forward the fact that we wanted to share this with all of you, is this peace that really does emanate a people. It becomes more than just a personal peace. It becomes a way of life. It becomes a way of evolving and being. And when we were in Cambodia, our beautiful guide Sanath was born near the end of the Pol Pot regime, but he was still alive as a young child then. And one of the things that was so powerful for me was he took us to this beautiful bridge, this beautiful old bridge that is still being used today, not by cars, and told me as a child how he would watch the tanks rolling over that and how terrified he was because he never knew if he was going to go home or if he was going to be shot, and how anyone that was educated, all of the doctors, all of the lawyers, all of the nurses, anyone that was educated, anyone that was carrying any sense of artistic creativity or anything that could be construed in any way as contradictory to the government was essentially eliminated. And you were asking him so extraordinarily about health and how people took care of themselves. And he was like, the average age of men was, didn't he tell us, like 40 or 41 at that point? Because that was it. There were no doctors. There were no medicines.
There was no food.
There was nothing. And so I find that remarkable that this young man who became our incredible guide while we were there was sharing with you and I that almost a love for his country and for his countrymen and for the blessing of food and being close to the land. And I found that in itself to be its own formula of presence, awareness, and intention.
It's really about that sense of harmony that they experience. So we experience there, and we can also experience within as well. And to take it really a little bit deeper, it's about that interconnectedness of life. It's not just about forgiveness of self or forgiveness of another. It's really about forgiveness and a welcoming and a peace for all, a peace for the world, a peace for the earth, for the fauna, the flora, and that we are all connected. And until we truly embrace that experience and teach by example, which is, I think, the reason why I'm here, I feel, yes, to teach by example, that we can begin to grow and connect on such a deep level. Again, with self, with another, in community, and with all.
I want to jump into that because one of the things you all don't know, that I've been to, close to 60 countries now, but Hank is really an extraordinary world traveler and a world explorer, and he has spent time with tribes that many don't have the blessing of being with. And I want to ask you, Hank, going back in your history and all the beautiful experiences you've had and the tribes that you've been honored to spend time with and all the work that you've done, coming up to this now moment and really including our recent journey through Southeast Asia, what have you seen in humanity? What gives you that key to humanity? What have you seen?
Great question. Thanks. I wish I knew it in advance. But I can answer it.
Yes, you can.
What drives me is that sense of harmony.
Yeah.
The harmony that I find out there, because with these indigenous populations, if they do not work together, they die. And as we're currently experiencing the world with all this turmoil and what's happening politically in the U.S., it's beyond turmoil at this point. It's borderline catastrophic. What's taking place. But that sense of harmony, and we can bring it back to what we've been talking about, is that sense of harmony within, because that's where it starts. The more I love myself, the more I can love you. And I love all. And so really taking these things in deep within the heart is the beginning and the end of it all. Mm-hmm. The rest just emulates from there.
That's so true. Bringing it into our heart and letting that really be there. Why don't let's just bring our hands to our heart for a moment and really just feel that. Because when we allow ourselves the gift, we stop dehumanizing. And that was, for me, one of the greater gifts of our journey in Southeast Asia as well, was the ability, as a child of the 60s, to actually be in these countries and be in the blessing of the humanization of these people. And not only in the realization that their eyes are our eyes, their heart is our heart, that at the end of the day, everybody just wants the same thing. They want to raise their children. They want to be happy. They want to have a good life. They want to have food and shelter. And what I enjoyed so much was that when we were driving, and we did a lot of driving, you'd look out in the fields, and even the farm workers that were working so hard were happy. There was this sense of purpose and passion that was coming from within because they are on the other side, especially in Cambodia. Let us not forget that war just ended in 1998, which really was profound to be among people that have so recently felt the horror and the terror, yet seem so unified. I think that's the word I would bring forward. What did you think of that?
Well, I can share this, and a little later on I'll read something, not during this episode, but in another, if I'm invited back, is, what I'm getting from that, Kira, is really that you are, I am, you are, we are as one.
I agree. And we were literally having the joy of being with those who really were radiating that energy and radiating it through I want to call it like an innocent presence. It was just so authentic that it had its own sense of innocence. And so, Hank, I want to do this. I want to wrap up today's show by inviting all of you into a gift. And I'd like to invite Hank to really bring us all into a beautiful divine space to feel the energy of everything we've been talking about. For you, I challenge you to bring all this into your life. And Hank, would you give us that honor?
I'd love to.
Thanks.
I'd like to invite us all to experience this peace that we've been talking about. What is inner peace? What inner peace feels like? The power of inner peace. And how we can, if we so choose, to hold peace, to carry peace, to share peace with self and with another. The word another I share with intention. It is both singular and plural, non-denominational. It is a word that invites both one and community beyond boundaries, whereas adversely, the word other, for me, creates separation, a place or intention that I neither want to experience nor create. If you feel called, offer yourself the gift to share the experience of inner peace. Through closed eyes, let us enjoy our breath as we follow it within. After a few breaths, slow the breath down, down, down. Slow the mind down, down, down. Down to a place where time, breath, and thought do not exist. In this moment, feel into your body. Feel one's deep love of self, deep love for all. As I feel into this moment, feel into myself, feel into us all. I experience greater inner peace, a great depth of love. I trust you do as well. Sadhana.
Breathing in, finding your inner smile. May the radiance of this moment offer the gift of your life and expansion. And may you remember that truly we are ready for this radiance. Thank you for being here, Hank.
Thank you. And Kira, if you will, please consider thankfulness as the next topic towards expanding consciousness and achieving enlightenment.
I will, and I am thankful for that suggestion. Look forward for that in the next show. Have a beautiful journey. We love you. We'll see you soon.
Thank you all.
Namaste.
Namaste.